Here we go. Everything is set up now. Hey, folks. We're having a little impromptu meet. Uh,
Here we go.
hey, Kayla.
Hey, let me see if I can get my video going.
Yeah, it's much better. I love the setup that is over here because I'm able to do basically everything here. You can play my
Mm-hmm.
music. I can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of updates for both of us as
Oh
far as
God,
the show
yes, do
goes.
tell.
Huh? Oh, so the first thing is, as you are aware, we have the old link restored. Uh,
Right.
all the hiccups. I learned a lot of difficult lessons from what happened at the New Year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually like it brought up a lot of old hardships to the surface, and it allowed me to actually see some of the root beliefs that I carry
Um,
that have kept me perpetuating limitation here. And so these were huge steps in the direction of integrating into being type 1, working with that. But I mean, I probably hit 3 times where I could have easily just let go of this incarnation and started another one. Uh,
oh wow.
and but decided not to because I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to do things the hard way, just to go ahead and do things the hard way.
Right.
That's just kind of my way. I like playing hard mode. And then plus, you know, I built a foundational understanding of oneness. The idea of integrating this into the afterlife state and then starting fresh with a new incarnation is easy, but that just wouldn't have the power of, it wouldn't have the, like, this is special. This is really
Mhm.
special. Doing
I
that
agree.
nearly as special as doing what I'm doing in this lifetime, and I
Yes.
want to see this through. So, because it's helping me to like learn an absolutely insane amount of consciousness, um, and then I'm enjoying the journey with Aradif as well. So, and Aradif would have walked with me whether I started another lifetime or not, but I wanted to go ahead and do it this way. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, all kinds of hardships were brought to the surface. Like I had to go ahead and face my mortality as well again.
Mm.
And though the health of my body was completely fine, it was basically all my mind. And I actually realized that the signatures of what I was dealing with were very similar to the signatures of my mentality just before these health problems started. So I managed to dodge a bullet and not
Oh.
end up basically going through something very similar all over again.
Right.
But I was sharp enough to what my body was telling me to where despite the agitation of my mind, I was still able to see what my body needed, and against the judgment of my agitated mind, followed my body. Uh,
That's awesome.
and because I knew what I needed to do, but some of these are pretty big leaps of faith, and
Yeah, I imagine. God. That's awesome though. I mean, that's a huge positive that came out of that. I mean,
it
you
is.
know?
I'm I'm not that far away from being at 5,000 log entries made that are numbered, and I want to be type 1 by the time I make the 5,000th log entry. So, and I think I can actually do that now, especially with all the things that I've started to figure out kind of all at once.
Hmm.
Um, I think I have a pretty good shot at being type 1. I just have to go ahead and learn the root beliefs that I carry and that are part of my subroutines day by day, and just all that. I typed up some pretty cool things. Like there's you could call it a mantra if you want, but I really made it more. So Nettie Admins has her hour of
Oh,
that she put in a consciousness club.
I saw that one, yeah.
Well, she didn't put it in a consciousness club. Omni did, and then
Okay.
I put something based on that because
Hmm.
reading her hour of power meditation, um, I had started to learn how I exist in past and future, how I live those right now, how I live expressions there right now as a part of me,
Hmm.
moment by moment. And so reading what she posted prompted correction, it's not a she, it's actually a he. I keep
Oh,
forgetting that. I think she's an old
I
lady.
don't know who Nettie Admin is. I mean, I've seen, but I've not interacted with, so I don't have a clue.
I think he's a younger guy, and I thought he was an older lady. That's like
Uh,
the stereotypical administrator. Wazowski, you didn't file your paperwork last
oh God. Yes.
week. Don't let it happen again.
You do that entirely too well. I just want you to know that.
I used to be able to do it a lot better. Yeah.
Man.
So I thought for sure that that is the kind of individual that Nettie is, but apparently not.
Oh well.
So that would have been so amusing if I had said all that to Star, because Star knows Nettie well. And
Oh no. Okay.
that would have been really funny, but
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
Mhm.
So, well, so, but yeah, it was, reading what he posted and that meditation, inspired me to see better
Mhm.
what I've learned to see over the past several days. And yeah, that's I have the foundation for being type 1. I just need to go ahead and incorporate it in all the different facets of my being and get used to things actually being like that. And I don't think that's going to take all that long to do, to be honest with you, at this point. I've managed to really rework many of the subroutines all at once, and so that allowed me to really, save a lot of time compared to what it would have been if I did them one by one.
Right.
Huge, huge amounts of progress.
Wow. That's
And
fabulous.
with your ability to work, with consciousness in a shamanistic way, as you describe it, that you do, I'd be able to show you around my build and show you what I've done. So if you like, maybe we can do that when the House of Tat actually meets. Um, I know this is something that would also help Omni a bit with his build,
Mhm.
because he too is wanting to he wants a lot of these things to be tangible. He wants
Mhm.
to incorporate them into his mental structure so that he can co-create with his galactic family, just like I want to go explore the galaxy myself. So
Mhm.
with that, perhaps we could go ahead and do that and really get a lay of our consciousness, and get a lay of the land, if you will, and then be able to work with it more.
Are you talking about just basically me traveling? I've thought about this actually. Me traveling there shamanically and just kind of seeing if I can see it as you see it. Is that kind of the gist of it?
In a way,
Maybe
yes.
have
I
to
was thinking
do
that we
that.
would all go ahead and travel with each other in
Right,
that.
right, right. But that's what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of you, by the way, what about you?
I don't know. I was just in, I don't even want to say a low place because my low places are not terribly low. They're just low for me. Um, and there's definitely some physicality involved because I was doing so good. I was doing my physical therapy exercises, everything was great. And I specifically was not using the cane because she was saying that I was like doing some sort of compensation with the cane when I used it, and I didn't want to like do it wrong all week, right? Um, but then like last Thursday, I felt so good. I was like, yes, I'm gonna use the cane, and it felt glorious, and I was walking like a normal person almost, and it was great. And I was so in so much pain and so much everything the next like 3 or 4 days. I was like, oh God, this was the worst thing I could have done. But went back there yesterday and she did it. But I don't know. I was just not, I think I was mostly not in a people mood. Um, and I also have this thing where like if I know something is going to really suck me in and take my attention, and I feel like I have other things I'm really supposed to be doing, and I know that's not the same as following your excitement. I'm still struggling with that, but it's like it's very much kind of a business before pleasure thing. It's like I wasn't feeling well enough to do the business, and therefore I wouldn't allow myself to do the pleasure, and it just became this thing. Um, we just finished our shamanic class for Spirits of the Cosmos this morning and did kind of a journey to kind of integrate all that, and every single one of us felt very changed afterwards. It's been a really very cool class. So yeah, so I'm feeling a little bit more motivated towards doing that. She the lady who runs it, she's like soft R retiring, but she wants it to be, she asked the spirits like what where to go with the school from there, and they basically are like it's going to be a university and everybody in this group is going to be teaching something. So normally she'd say that and I would nope right out, right? It's like, I'm not in the mood, but I'm not ready, I'm not this, but I feel pretty good about it today, scared and excited. But normally it's just, there's no excitement. It's just, no, I know we won't be doing that. But, there's still some physicality to be worked out because, I still can't function like a normal person. Um, that's a bad way to put it, but you get what I mean.
I know.
And it's still a work in progress, but my mental outlook on it is a lot better. So, yay.
And that's exactly the way I would treat it. I would treat it like if I were in your shoes, I would probably treat it like a work in progress because
Hmm.
you kind of have to go ahead. I've been dealing with very similar themes because there's a whole idea of the mind's thoughts of what we should do given the circumstances,
Right.
and I had to learn to trust my heart and to trust my body, and because a lot of times when the mind gets too involved in dieting, that is
Mhm.
actually when things go downhill. And so I need, working with my body and just reading my body and going off of what it needs has worked for me. It actually worked so well for me that I didn't get sick, not even with a cold, for over 6 years.
Wow.
No illness whatsoever.
Wow. That's awesome.
And so, with the exception of a headache every once in a while, but those headaches were induced by loud noises or, different things that I would do
Hmm.
that would cause these headaches. And so, but other than that, like, things were perfect. And
Hmm.
this stayed true through COVID as well. So, some of those years included the COVID years. So
Nice.
it was really that's how well this worked. But the moment
Hmm.
that I started thinking too much, which is basically what happened in the months prior to me having the issues that caused me to need to go see the doctor,
Hmm.
that's when everything started to fall apart. I managed to get food poisoning and cause myself some other problems. I had one of the worst headaches of my life. And
Hmm.
then about a month later is when I had the folate deficiency and when everything started. So,
Hmm.
it's it, this is easy to do until you jinx it.
Yeah, I've done that so many times. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the trick is to just get to know yourself well enough to where you know that you know what you're doing, and at least that's one of the tricks. Some of the others I'm still figuring out because I nearly had this happen again,
Hmm.
and so I need to get to appreciate what I'm doing more. Um, And so I know there's a part to that. There's a lot of beliefs that people pick up over years, what we should be doing to succeed, what we need
Yes.
to do to succeed.
Hmm.
And, with respect to money, with respect to other things. But the heart sees all the things that you don't see. But if you don't believe in that, then you end up in this rabbit hole. And there's basically no getting out until you recognize what your heart can do um, and what that is. And and this is why a lot of Christians are so successful because the essence of what they're doing in majority is the idea of following their heart, and that the heart is the temple of all truth through which God speaks. They word it a little differently, but that's really what they're doing, and so it's the same concept. Um, and that's why so many of them end up doing so well in life. They're following God, and as you and I know, God is our essence.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what Jesus shared. And they're close enough to that to where they're basically able to do most of what Jesus, most basically they're able to do the stuff that counts. They're able to live the life that they want to live, even if they're not able to integrate into themselves the kind of capability that Jesus had integrated into himself. Because they haven't grown into seeing what Jesus saw. They've grown into seeing enough of it that they're able to live their lives and basically get what they want out of life. So, and
Yeah.
that's, in the end, that's really all that matters. And a lot of times, what's wanted out of life isn't something specific, and that source is neutral. It's
Mm.
all like from God's perspective, it's about exploring Himself, and it gives you the wheel so that you can decide what of Himself you want to explore, and He leaves everything open so that every possibility that can be is.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that it's all given its due love. That is how God gives all the love to all the parts of Himself without leaving anything out, by being open to every part, infinitely,
Mhm.
and equally infinitely.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I've just had to integrate a lot of this and learn to open my own self up to more, so that I can be more, so that I can see more, so that I can live more, because I want to go ahead and see all the things that are in the galaxy. The main thing for me to do, though, and again, it's to see oneness. And a lot of this is just believing in it more than anything, and acting, in alignment with that. And then looking at myself more. The more I look at myself, because this is a self-evident thing, the more I'll be able to see it. But I just have to look in the right areas because I know what it is. I know what I'm looking for. I know, I know how to find it and how to show it to my mind, basically, um,
What are you looking for?
just to see oneness with my
Mhm.
mentality,
Gotcha.
and to believe in it more, and
Mhm.
to show it to my mind to help myself believe in it more, and to open up to where I can co-create seeing it, since my physical mind bases it's since I base a lot of beliefs with my physical mind on physical reality. I have to go ahead and open up enough to co-create the physicality of what I'm looking for.
Mhm. Mhm.
um, and I've managed to do that to where I've been able to co-create freely, and that kind of speaks for itself to me. So all I have to do is just continue to open up in more ways, and continue to learn of new possibilities. So it's all openness and cumulative openness, basically. That's what I'm trying to do to go ahead and get to where I'm trying to go, to the form that I'm trying to become, which is just going. Which the only difference between what I am and what that is this is a static form. That's a dynamic form. Um, so it basically can be this, but it can also be more. Whereas this is local to this, basically, and a lot less more than that, if you will.
Yeah. I think I almost see it as the opposite, where the physicality is the more dynamic because you're I don't know, I feel like you're exploring more, and then that the upper however you want to put it, the higher self or whatever is more static because it's already more balanced and it's not getting all the pull that we're getting, here on Earth basically, to do all the things or not do all the things or whatever. But either way.
That's kind of an interesting way of looking at it, especially the last part. To like, from my own perspective, the higher self is what I set it to be. It's almost like the parts of me that I put on autopilot and program to do certain things.
Ah.
That way, my reality behaves in specific ways, with the character that I choose for it to have. What I need to do is recognize that I can choose that character freely, that I'm
Yes.
not fixed to one specific character of reality, that things are
Mhm.
not destined or set to be one thing by some higher power. That higher power is within me and I'm directing it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And Saradev says, uh, I, what was that quote? I'm going to read it word for word.
Mhm.
That's Acacia, who is also the Nevian. He says, all things behind me do not matter. All things in front of me will be as I direct them through creator consciousness. And then
Hmm.
he says, I will approach my now moment as if there are no limitations. You are loved.
I think I saw that in one of the groups. Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah, I posted that. That's
Oh,
from
okay.
Master's webpage.
Okay.
And so, basically, the essence of the message is that just because you experienced something in your past doesn't mean that you have to be X, Y, or Z because of that. You can be whatever you want in spite of that past. And you can keep whatever elements of it with you you want to. Um, and but regardless of what elements of it you keep with you, they don't have to have bearing on what the rest of you what you decide to be with the rest of you.
Hmm.
And so in that way, like I can carry the events of history with me and my twin flame with me in high
Hmm.
school as well.
Hmm.
Everything that I learned and experienced throughout those days, but still, despite the fact that that's my history, I can
Hmm.
go experience whatever I want now. And I can keep that history with me now as a part of me now. But it doesn't have to set any rules for what I be, basically. So in that way, I can have as big of a library as I want to and still be whatever I want. So in that way, I
I'm
can have
trying to
it.
incorporate that for sure.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it's cheating. I mean, I get the idea where you experience the event and the event may be just, uncomfortable or painful or, whatever it is. And that you gain the wisdom from that and you can leave the event behind.
Yes.
But I don't know. I can't get it out of my head that that's not like cheating. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like Kirk in that one thing, where our dark side makes us whatever it is. I mean, and it's I know it's all about integration, as opposed to getting rid of the dark, but I'm not wording this right.
I'm opening up my
If
consciousness to go create the version of you that does word it.
no, I think I've got it. The idea that if something bad happened to me, I don't mind discarding that so much. But if I was the bad guy to another person, I hate to forget that because I don't want to be that bad guy in the future. And I know that there's a catch 22 in there somewhere, which I can't quite parse out because I know that that's self-contradictory somehow in ways I can't figure out. But that's one of the struggles I have where and I think it's probably self-forgiveness. Um, I can forgive myself for my lifetime that I did terrible things to other entities, but this lifetime, if I did something much less, violent to somebody else, I still struggle with that. So,
I had to deal with this theme just, I think, earlier today.
oh no.
The kid version of me that shot the dog in the nose with the airsoft gun,
Oh
and and that kind of thing.
no.
And so
Hmm.
I had to go ahead and deal with that um, and forgive myself. Now, of course, I would never do that now, and that's
Hmm.
all I need, really. And I see that past version of me, but the way I see it, that past version of me is just like any other thing in creation. It exists. It's part of life. All things exist because
Hmm.
existence is an absolute thing, and that never changes. I did experience the version of me that did that. Now I prefer to follow my heart, and that precludes the idea of doing anything like that.
Right, right. Yeah.
The irony about that is that I
Mhm.
actually can see a future version of me in canine consciousness playing around and me shooting the now very intelligent dog in the head just to prank him or something like that, but it's not the same thing as it was. It's almost like a strange
Mhm.
event that pays homage to what happened. But then the dog does the equivalent of a human laugh, whatever analogs to that,
Uh,
and I laugh too, and it's a sort of way of it's kind of a way of uh, leaving to final rest that old event, for lack of a better
Mm,
way of putting it. Uh,
yeah.
Context would be one of playfulness and messing around, rather than whatever. I don't even know how to word the context from me and my neighbor's dog back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like, we look back now at the history where, back in the days of pirates on the ocean, and then the Middle Ages where people just did such horrible things to each other. And, then Roman times and all that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, Human history is really quite violent in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
bloody. Uh,
And I'm sure we all had lifetimes within part of that. I mean, I know I did.
Yeah, and so the idea now I look at things a little differently because I look at, past, present, and future as all part of the moment. Uh,
Sure.
when I, like, for instance, I was just listening to the organ tracks from Dietrich Buxtehude, who is, so I bet you know Johann Sebastian Bach. I bet you
Heard
know.
of, yes.
And then, so apparently him and Johann Pachelbel and Dietrich Buxtehude were all close to each other. They were all sort of part of the same soul family. Pachelbel was actually a very good friend of Bach's family, even though he probably only met Bach once. And at that time, Bach was a kid.
Mhm.
Um, and whereas Dietrich Buxtehude was one of Bach's mentors, and
Mhm.
they knew each other very well. And so it's kind of interesting seeing the themes of them and the energetic nearness of them to each other.
Mhm.
That was really quite a fascinating thing. And as I was connecting to that and how, it happened to be my own excitement, first, to listen to Bach stuff, who I've been listening to his organ music for many years. And then, probably a year and a half to 2 years later, I'm listening to Passionable stuff. Um, and now it's a good 6 years later, now I'm listening to the next guy that I'm listening to is the music of Buxtehude. And it's interesting because those guys happen to be all very, very close to each other, both in the way they interacted with each other back in the day, as well as the way they were. So much so that I consider them part of my own soul family. And absolutely, I could go ahead and take one of their lives as one of my incarnations. But the idea is that it's something I live now so deeply that I don't really look at it in a linear sense. I look at it all as uh, sharing the same seed to expression, where the same seed that expresses itself in part as me also expresses itself in part as Pachelbel, Bach, and Buxtehude. So that's kind of the way I look at consciousness, and in that way, it kind of does away with the linear element. And with that, I can see the idea of the other lifetime, in the Middle Ages, in medieval times, and then in Roman times as well. Back in the times where people did did a lot of really mean things to each other. But again, it's just another part of creation to me at this point. It's
Mhm.
just another expression among the infinity of expressions all over everywhere. And so it isn't really something, for me to fixate on. And understanding the reflective dynamic of things, how everybody's a reflection of each other. Everybody is what each other has each other be. That's literally what God does, just like what Metatron said. He's whatever you have him be. In other words,
Mhm.
based on the character with which you live life, because things can only be that which is reflective and expressive of yourself, because God expresses himself as all things. Um, that of God that you experience is your choice, it's your expression, it's your reflection. So in that way, it's just as much you as it is God.
For
Uh,
sure.
and this is where the idea of the heart's desire comes into play. It's just a simple matter of what of yourself as creator consciousness do you want to experience in the moment. And this is the way the type 1 being sees it.
Hmm.
knowing that everything is reflection and expression, and everything is chosen by all things in the moment. The type 1 being can then freely choose his experience without limitation, not even based on what he's co-created with entities moments before. And so in that way, there's total freedom of expression, total freedom of existence. But
Hmm.
more than that, the type 1 being sees that same choice in everybody. This is why the type 1 being does not, intervene when he sees one guy doing something mean to another. He sees the
Hmm.
consciousness in play. He sees what the one guy is doing, what the other guy, the victim, if you will, what in him co-creates the victimhood. Um, and then the same goes with the other one. So the energy is left open and available to everybody. And were it to be taken, it would be a reminder of the choice and the sovereignty that's always there, and that's fundamental to all things. And so that's what I'm trying to grow into. It's what I'm
Hmm.
growing into. So
I always have about 50 questions as we talk, and then we go on to another subject, and then there's another question. And I know if I go back to the first question, it'll be 50 other tangents. Be that as it may.
yeah, what would end up needing to be done in instances such as those would be the I will go ahead and I'll go ahead and post this on the House of Tat YouTube channel, and then we can basically go over the recording, and then all the questions that get provoked can be written down as they are provoked, and then can be asked.
I was thinking I should start taking notes when we talk.
I have to
Um,
do that when Aradif talks.
oh, I bet.
Well,
So I know basically what the definition of a type 1 being is, but I want to hear your definition because you've got a lot of facets of it. I don't know if you have a succinct definition.
yes, so the type 1 being, the essence of this is simply recognizing oneness in all things, in every facet of his own self.
Hmm.
So in this way, as Ardif has grown into Type 1, he's fully aware of everything having Source as its expression. He's fully aware that everything is an expression of Source and is expressive of Source from every perspective.
Hmm.
And in that way, seeing that Source in all things, seeing the same Source in all things, he can
Hmm.
see the reflective and expressive dynamic, the choice of experience in all facets, and everyone and everything operating as a unit in that reflection and expression. Knowing that, he sees the free will in action in everybody. And this free will is truly absolute. It
Hmm.
cannot be taken away because everything is that source, and this is fundamental to source. So the only thing that can happen is a lack of belief in that free will. But they have the free will to do that, and then they have the free will to live an expression of that. But
Hmm.
all of that is being done by choice. And
Hmm.
so the type 1 being sees this, and in that way, seeing that, again, source is neutral, source is open to all experience, including this. In that way, when you distill everybody down to their essence, they're all source having an experience.
Hmm.
Even the most wretched people who have walked this earth, even people like Adolf Hitler,
Hmm.
was Source having an experience. Even all
Hmm.
the people that he killed, or that killed following him,
Hmm.
were also expressions of that Source, and in being such, were reflections and expressions of each other in all of those moments. And when
Hmm.
you come to appreciate that and the whole build of each of the bits of consciousness that makes up everybody, from those experiences and from all the other experiences as well, the ones very enjoyable and then the ones very painful. That's when you can start truly integrating that unconditional love. And so, in that way, there's another definition of Type 1 being, which is a Type 1 being has zero fear, the energy of separation, the idea that things are separated. Recognizing this oneness and the essence of everything takes away the need to push anything away because you understand it, you understand how it works. So no longer is a type 1 entity pushing anything away from his own self, or disowning it as his own self, um, or disowning anything as being not of source, if you will. In that way, he's truly seeing source in all things and sees its workings. the inner and outer workings. This is where the barrier of inner and outer actually falls apart, where they become one and the same. And so that's the way the type 1 being exists.
I think for myself, I understand what you're saying about the oneness of everything and the lack of judgment because everything is source. That's the part that it's easy for me to wrap my head around. Um, I have my knee-jerk reactions like everybody else. I see somebody on, media or whatever that I disagree with, or, even the thing on New Year's Eve at the house. And it's like, it's like, okay, and I mean, there's preference and there's judging, right? And I definitely preferred not to be part of that conversation, but I recognized that I was judging it also. And that was something I was working on. But I can generally, if I have a knee-jerk reaction to something negative, I can generally, at least intellectually, if not more, usually more, but at least intellectually pull myself back and be like, this is source, this is an expression of source, everything you just said, basically, right?
Yes.
And I could do that, and that's great. Um, and that's the part that tends to be easy for me, and it gets easier as time goes on because I could remind myself of that. But the part that's hardest for me, and the part that I wasn't sure where you were with, and please keep in mind that I am probably projecting, but it may also be relevant. Um, my challenge with, I'm not, I mean, obviously the goal is to someday become a type 1 being, but I'm not focused on that in the way you are. That's just kind of one of those things that happens along the way. Um, but uh,
Yes.
it's the fear and the sadness, I think, that are my big stumbling blocks. And getting beyond whatever fears and recognizing what they are to begin with, and that feeling of separateness and things like that. And from my perspective, through our interactions, it seems like those are harder challenges for you as well, but you're focusing on the other, on the love and the oneness and everything, which is great. I'm wondering if there needs to be a focus on the fear, because that's where I tend to go to, where I'm like, okay, when I finally decide to do shadow work, it's like, okay, I'm going to go into this and I'm going to do this thing. But, years ago, I had a lawn care company, or I ended up not getting them, but their philosophy was not, like, let's not kill the weeds, let's not do this, let's just put so much grass seed in there that it chokes out the weeds. And I kind of get the impression that the way you're working towards it might be, let's just go for so much love and oneness it chokes out everything else, or at least, puts it in the place where it's accepted and valid, but not affecting you in a negative way. Am I expressing that in a way that's understandable?
Yeah, my pencil's gone. I
Oh
can't
no.
not able to write this stuff down.
Oh, you'll have to take notes after too.
Yeah. So, the hardships that I went through was actually the revisiting of the fears.
Hmm.
That was why, or that was them being brought to the surface by all of this, and I took very good advantage of that.
Hmm.
And yes, those are waters that definitely take some courage to brave, and I did brave them, and I braved them very well because I found the essence of them. So what I do is I go ahead and take. I wouldn't even say that it's love. It's a very neutral energy. It's just simply an energy of recognition, and that's about it. Just seeing from a very neutral angle how consciousness actually works. Going back to the basics, as Aradif would say. And then I go ahead and I'm looking at the fear. I'm seeing myself basically, in fear of the idea of my body falling apart, or of the idea of basically, it's not quite dying, but it's the idea of things breaking in me,
Yeah.
and things failing. Um, And so, first I had to find the fear because it manifested itself in the form of an anxiety that would be intermittently triggered. A lot of
Mhm.
people have anxiety problems like this. I wanted to go ahead and write down all the instances that, in which it came up and what occurred immediately before it did come up.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
eventually I managed to trace it to the idea of fear, of mortality, of the idea of my legacy and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, and so I had to go ahead and trace these fears to their sources and then take what I've learned and then look at the fears in light of what I've learned. And that is how I can truly let go of a lot of these fears.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in doing so, I can go ahead and open myself up to expression where there was previously no openness and also let go of these anxieties deep within. And there's a lot more facets to this for me to express. Let me see if I can do so because Iridif has a, Rob, when he's channeling Iridif, they have a very great mental cache. And so they're able to express accounting, for so much of this. Um, and I know I can too. It's not that difficult. I need to build up to it.
Mhm.
Come on. I'm recognizing the oneness. Um, yeah, I think this one's going to get away.
That's fine. That's fine. Trying to remember what my other questions were.
I'm going to go get my pencil.
Yes, go ahead and pencil for sure. I'll think.
All right. Yeah, I have to dive into deep fears all the time. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm not
I do it
necessarily
intermittently.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily focused on love to the exclusion of fear.
Mhm.
I'm really focused on the idea of exploring myself. And sometimes I will deliberately go ahead and go find my fears or even do things to make myself angry
Mhm.
to light the different things that I tend to get angered about because um, by seeing my fears, by seeing the areas where I'm responding based on separation instead of based on oneness.
Mhm.
That's where I can then work on myself to go ahead and basically act in recognition of the essence of what all things are. And in that way, give to everybody and give to every part of everybody the attention and respect which is its due, leaving no part of consciousness behind. That's what I'm trying to do. Um, because all of these things, all of the hardships in humanity have a root cause behind them. And it's usually a belief of this nature that causes people, or belief somewhere that causes people to push or take actions that are not of the heart. And these are the
Inspiration,
things
lack.
that, these are the things that co-create all the pieces of, say, what happened in World War II and what happened in all of the other instances of hardship. So by finding those and letting those go from my system, they cease to exist as a part of my reality here. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm learning to do because I know everybody's a part of my own body of consciousness. So when I go ahead and heal something within, the expression shifts because I've changed the way that I'm choosing.
Yes, yes.
So,
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And that might be a good way for me to look at it, look at my fears through the filter of how is this contributing to separation? How can I change this to oneness as opposed to separation?
yeah, like if you see the expression of the fear, if you see something where there are things that are not harmonizing with each other, that are not feeling well with your heart or things like that,
Mhm.
trace them down to what they are, what's going on in your consciousness, what's the thinking, what's the belief behind it. And you can
Mhm.
trace them all the way down to the root belief. And then you can look at that belief in light of understanding the nature of how consciousness works. And then if there's some part of the nature of how consciousness works that you don't fully believe in, that's where to just do some simple self exploration with no polarization either way. Just get to know yourself, and that's it. Get to know life,
Mhm.
get to know consciousness. And
Mhm.
then, because again, oneness is a self evident thing, the reflective dynamic is a self evident thing. And so,
I don't think that's true for everybody. I think it's probably true for, you and I and most of the people we interact with, but I don't think that's true over all of Earthlings.
it actually is, but the more believe in separation you have, and it's funny I say this, the less obvious it is. Uh, but in its lack of being obvious, it's more obvious. And how that's the case is because the more you believe in separation, the more divided the world appears, the more it seems like it's not separated. When you then look at it in light of the idea of it's a reflection of yourself, you believe this, look what it is, and then that's where it can click.
Oh, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I just don't think most of humanity is there yet.
Well, all you have to do is strike the right nerves. And if a version of you that can strike the right nerves can be a reflection of people, then a part of them is open to it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and our very existence within the human collective means that an open energy within everybody that is a part of the human collective is nearby and can be further integrated into their consciousness. Because
Mhm.
I'm a reflection of you, because I'm a part of your own consciousness, I really can be whatever you have me be. And the same goes with the rest of the human collective. Everything really is truly how you direct it through creator consciousness. And
Yeah.
so, in that way, the road that humanity takes, or even what it is up to you.
I'm
So, for
working towards
me,
that.
yeah, so for me, I'm having to learn what choices I'm making for what humanity is subconsciously and why I'm making those choices. That way, I can know what I'm wanting to do, uh, what the universe for me is, what of that I'm happy with, and what of that I want to shift. Now, most of it I want to leave as it is, but there's a specific exactitude as far as ways of being goes. Um, a specific expression that I want to be, and it is a pretty specific thing. I need to figure out what it exactly is. And so basically, I'm wanting to be this guy that can live all the different perspectives, that can live and see all the different kinds of existences that are used in the galaxy. I don't want to change the universe from what it is to something else. I want to get to know it. I want to connect with it. I want to co create with it. What I want to do is let go of the limitations, the things that stop me from being able to do that. I don't want to change the playing field. I want to open the door for me to be more within the playing field. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I have to figure out what all of that means in context to my life here. What choices am I making? What specific elements of the choices that I'm making now do I want to change? Um, because I have to change the right ones. So,
That's awesome. I love that. Um, my bladder is telling me I need to get up, and by the time you know, but by the time I extricate myself from this and go and come back, it's going to be roughly time for me to start dinner.
yeah,
So much as I am enjoying this,
I can feel in that oneness, it's actually my own energy is gravitating elsewhere as well, almost at the exact moment that this happened. So,
love it. All right, my dear. Hopefully, I will see you tonight. I plan on being at Evolution if it's going to be if it's happening. And if the house is after, I'll do that too.
yes, so I want to go ahead. I'm phasing. I never did do the update, so right quick.
Hmm.
I'm phasing myself out of Discord,
I saw that.
and the house Discord server I have no plans as far as the future of that goes. I really want to go ahead and have this be the House of Tat.
Mhm.
And so my appreciation for this grew as I reflected on what happened during the new year. And I
Mhm.
realized that this is really something that's much more expressive of who and what I am and the spirit of what the House of Tat is.
Mhm.
The Discord energy, it the there's too much compartmentalization. There's too much rendition. It's almost like it's like being expressed in too much code and too much definition.
Mhm. Gotcha.
And the house is more of a dynamic thing, and I prefer to leave so many energies open. So like all the things that go on Discord are really things I want to leave to my higher fractal consciousness,
Mhm.
things that happen behind the scenes, things that happen within the openness of my consciousness. So that's what I want to go ahead and do. I don't really want to micromanage as much as I have been. So
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I don't have the energy for that kind of thing either. If you get around to it, invite my husband if you want, and we'll,
I
you
will
know,
leave you to do that
you'll
because
have to give me permission to.
you do. I grant you
Yeah.
that permission.
Okay.
All there is to inviting him would be to just go ahead and copy the invite link and sending it to him.
Oh,
Um,
I meant to the Discord.
oh, um, I can do that's so the consciousness club is really more Omni's thing.
Oh, I was gonna do House of Tat, but yeah, I was gonna ask Omni about that too.
I suppose I could invite him to the House of Tat Discord server for whatever
Yeah, that's what I
it's
meant.
worth.
Hmm?
For whatever that's worth, I've actually been considering closing down that server.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
I haven't really, I haven't decided 100% either way.
Mm,
But the essence of what's over here, or the essence of the house is just here at Zoom. So,
yeah, no, I love the Zoom. The Zoom is great. All right, love, I will see you shortly-ish, I hope.
right. Well,
Night.
cheers. We love you as well, and we'll see where everything goes from here. I would like to go ahead and make the announcement for Omni about the House of Tat opening up if there's no Enlightenment Evolution Hour, because that's just something that's caught on.
I know,
The
right?
House of
I
Tat
love it.
hates if there's no Enlightenment Evolution Hour. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Uh,
we bid you adieu for this moment. In that case,
all right, night night.
adieu. Okay, there's that. That'll be an interesting thing.